Hi, everyone. We are going to let everybody fill the room for a few moments. And looks like we have a fabulous group here. Thank you so much to everybody for coming over to this webinar with Wacom this evening or this morning or this middle of the night, depending on where you are. For us here at Wacom, many of us are on the West Coast, in Oregon, and we have Kyle joining us from Canada. But many of us are on the West Coast, and it is almost evening for us. Um, all right, let's kick off. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. We are here to talk about Wacom UFI, and the ways in which it can protect your artwork in our digital landscape. Before we get started, this is scheduled for 60 minutes. It is being recorded. And if you have any questions, submit them to the Q&A, and we will answer them either verbally or we do have two fabulous moderators here with us, and they will also answer questions in a written fashion as well. If you do have your question answered, your name will be then visible to other folks here on this webinar. And then lastly, as I said, we will answer questions as they come in or at the end, depending on the type of question it is and the amount of time it requires. So as I said, we are here to talk about UFI and how to use it to claim authorship of your art. And to do that, it uses a digital record that is unique to you. Our agenda this evening is to introduce the two folks whose voices you're going to hear. We'll describe UFI, and then more importantly, Kyle, who is joining me today, will demo UFI. So we'll get to see Kyle do some drawing and talk about his experience as an artist, and see him use UFI right in front of us. And then lastly, we will also be answering questions, as I said, both in the Q&A, but also verbally too. Okay, so whose voices are you hearing now? You're hearing me, Melissa Ashcraft. I am one of the directors of marketing here at Wacom. And I've been with the company for quite a while, coming up on 12 years. But more interesting, we have Kyle Runsman with us, and Kyle has been working with Wacom for longer than I've been here. Kyle is a professional artist and used to draw with us in our different trade show booths, because he's worked for several different software companies. So Kyle offers a very unique perspective, both from a software standpoint and a hardware standpoint and an artist perspective. So after I work through these handful of slides, we will turn it over to Kyle to talk about all of those great things. So UFI, where did this name come from? It just like Wacom is based in Japan, and Wacom itself, the wa is harmony in Japanese. We took a cue from our own brand name and integrated a Japanese name into this new product name. It means link. And what we really wanted to do was to describe this tool, which creates a link between the artist and their artwork, using micro marking. So that is the origin of the word UFI. And what it does is, every artist has their unique workflow as they're working, whether that's the pressure that they use or the layers that they use, or the software that they use. Everyone has a very unique experience of how they are creating art. And what UFI does is that it takes that unique process and essentially creates a digital fingerprint for your artwork. What we call that is micromarking. So it allows artists to put a micromark on their artwork, and you can see an example of that on the left-hand side of this slide, where you see the artwork, the finished piece with the character in the purple shirt. But then beneath it, you can see that digital fingerprint that has been created. And the idea behind it is really to create that link between the artist and the artwork so that it's not severed as you know, share it on Instagram or. So how does that work? That sounds kind of like magic a little bit. It isn't magic. Um, but micromarking, as I said, is it's an invisible set of pixels that is within your artwork. And it carries with your artwork. So if somebody screenshots your artwork, that micromark is still there. If you share it on Instagram, the micromark is there as well. It really does stick around on your artwork through the various iterations across the web. Um, as I said, it creates a permanent record, so it's not going to leave your artwork regardless. It is using blockchain technology. However, it's not using those environmentally challenging pieces that we're more familiar with when we think of blockchain. Um, but that is how we ensure the permanence of that micromark. And then we have also created the UiFinder within UiFi, and that is a tool that you can use to claim your work. Or if, for example, I am out and about and I see Kyle's amazing drawing and I would like to use it as a marketer, I can run the piece of artwork through UiFinder and it will share with me Kyle's information or the information Kyle wishes to share with me. And in the United States and Europe, it will allow Kyle to create a license with me right there on the website rather than me needing or Kyle needing to email me and do all that stuff. We can conduct that business within the UiFinder. Um, there is also a license builder, as I mentioned. This is available to the United States and Europe. And Kyle will show how to do this, but he could, set the parameters of his license in any way that he wishes. And that license would be visible to me as soon as I decided that this was the piece of art that I wished to purchase. You don't need to use a Wacom tablet or display to access UiFi. It is available through 3 pieces of partner software that we work with that are very commonly used software that we'll go through. We prefer you to use a Wacom hardware. However, if you don't, that's okay. Move Ink, when you purchase Move Ink, it will allow you to use or to download some free trials of Rebelle, Photoshop, or excuse me, Rebelle, Clip Studio Paint, and both of those are integrated with UiFi. And just to clearly show you that these are the 3 pieces of software that do integrate with UiFi. You'll watch Kyle. Kyle will open up Rebelle, do some drawing, and then the UiFi function is within Rebelle. So it's a very easy way to integrate that. You don't need to go anywhere else. You just stick within Rebelle to add your micromark. It is in beta, and just this morning we found out that it is available around the globe. There are a handful of countries that we're still awaiting legal approval in. But if you are not in the United States and you are curious about whether or not it is available in your country, please just send us a chat or a question, and we will let you know whether or not UiFi is available in your country. The licensing portion of it is only available in the United States and Europe. However, the rest of it, the micromarking, the UiFinder, all of that is available globally. So with that being said, that is enough of the marketing person blah blahing. I would like to turn this over now to Kyle to show us how UEFI works. Kyle is using a Cintiq 27.
Yep, Cintiq. Awesome. Thanks, Melissa. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining. So this is a pretty cool tool that we're excited to offer and have public now to a lot more areas, which is pretty exciting. So there's a few things that I want to show today. First of all, it's sort of the proof in the pudding. So just I have some files that other artists have done. And I want to run them through our UFinder. Take a couple of things that you might be skeptical of, like a screenshot. Like, are we losing that micro marking by taking a screenshot? Or just cropping a piece of an image or using part of an image as in some of your own work and claiming it as your own and see if that's going to work or not. So first of all, I'm just going to log into the UFI website. So this is just using your Wacom ID at this point. I've gotten pretty good at typing left-handed while being watched, but did I get it this time? I don't know. Okay, we did it. Okay, so this is the when you log into UFI, that have a whole bunch of demo files loaded up. Some of them I'm okay with, a lot of them are embarrassing, but we'll just deal with it. So just down here, this is where that UFinder sits. So there's that you can just click on that area and you can upload an image. I'm just gonna that's a little bit faster for me now, but we can also look at the connected software. So over there, up in here on the top right corner, I've got my profile settings. And then next to that is connected applications. So here we can see that Clip Studio Paint is connected. I have Rebelle connected and Photoshop is connected as well. And that one looks different because UFI is implemented through a plugin. So UFI functionality is native into Rebelle and Clip Studio Paint. I believe right now Clip Studio Paint still requires a special version until we go public, which might be happening today, but I'd have to double check. So right now, that's the way to connect everything. If I click on the UFI title itself, there's like a larger UI where you can drop in a link, or you can click on this and just pick this file. So I'm going to pick a file that I have saved to my desktop that I know I didn't create, and it's going to click open, and then it's going to say UFInding in progress. Apologize for my voice. I'm battling a 2-week-long cold at the moment, so I'm hoping to be at the end of it, but I'm feeling a little nasally right now. Okay, here we go. So we pulled up this artist, Jessica Priestmar. So she's a friend of Wacom, very talented artist. It lists the code that I believe that's what lives on the blockchain. And then it shows us that it was created in Adobe Photoshop. And then beneath that, it says View Linked Project. So if I click that, it'll open up a new tab. Shows us Empire State of Light. So that's the name of the file. Other information like the creation date, so October of last year. It's a 2D image, illustration category, and it was done with a Cintiq Pro. And then a description as well. So it's pretty cool. And then over here on the license side, so she's assigned a free license with unlimited period and unlimited restrictions. And we'll get into that, all that stuff and creating lease licenses a little bit later. But that's just so if you find an image that you find inspiring or want to reach out to an artist to license, that's a nice way of doing that. So it's a free tool, just creating an account, uploading an image, and then pressing the UFI button. Now, with that being said, here's another piece of art. Now I just want to work on the issue. I'm going to start with the screenshot one because that's the first thing I thought of. Like, how are we just going to erase the micro marking data that's applied to the top of this image with a screenshot? The answer is no. They figured out a way to make that magic work. So I'm just going to do Shift Windows S there, and I missed it, and then change the file. Oh no, it's all falling apart now. Okay, we'll figure it out. I'm going to double click, Shift. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to take this screenshot. And I'm going to open up Photoshop. I'm going to create a new file, Control N, and then paste that in place. Now I'm going to save this as, we'll just call it screenshot for now. I'm going to drop this into my UFI folder so it's easy to find it. And then I'm going to create this as, or I guess we have to do save as copy. We'll do JPEG into UFI. Okay, so we fumbled around a little bit there, but we got it saved. So now I'm going to do the same thing and then go back into, I'm going to close this tab and do a quick refresh. So we have a new UFinder window. Click this button again. And then I'm going to not click the original. This is the original file that I had saved to my folder. I'm going to click this one, the screenshot that we just did. So open that. So even though it was a screenshot that I just took on my Windows laptop there, it still recognizes the artist's name. It just tells us that it was created in Clip Studio Paint. We have a description as well, and then it also links to the project. So it's called Eternal. There's no license applied to it, but it does have the creation date, the type and the category, and all that good stuff. So that's pretty great. Now, what if we are talking about taking a specific part of an image? So I'm just going to I'm going to make a crop here. So I'm just going to take this piece right there. I'm going to save as a copy. And I'll title this one crop. So already, I think for me as an artist that like who wants to protect the stuff that they share online, this is a pretty cool tool. I'm just going to close this tab again and then start a new one just to make sure I'm erasing any sort of data from that last page. And then we'll do the same thing again. So I'm going to click that. Crop is up here now. And then we'll see if it can still pull out the information from the artist and that micromarking technology. And sure enough, there it is. So the same title, same description, everything is the same. It recognizes the micromarking in, so there's enough micromarking attached to the image that you can take just a piece and it'll still recognize who is the original artist. So those are the two big ones for like the lazy theft, I guess you could say, the ones that are just going to copy your stuff and then throw it on a t-shirt and try to sell it to H&M and then turn it into millions of dollars. There's the other type of theft where, let's see, I'm going to open up this guy. Go back to the original image that I had earlier. So we have the Statue of Liberty in front of a couple of the buildings from the New York skyline, which is pretty cool. So I'm the theft in this case. I took the Statue of Liberty and applied it to a background that I had painted in Clip Studio Paint. So two separate softwares. I did the edit in Photoshop, so I cut that specific piece out and applied to my image. So what happens in that case? So I'm going to close this tab, do another refresh. I'm going to open that again, and I'm going to click this one. So I've got that title as main image altered, and open. And it still recognizes enough of that image that Jessica Priestmeyer created that it still links to that file. So we have the Adobe Photoshop information there, and we link to the project, and it takes us to the original piece of artwork that was run through UFI, which is a pretty strong tool, I would think. Pretty fantastic that it's able to do that. Yeah, so how do we get to that point? I'm just going to run into Photoshop again to show that this is in the plugins panel. So to open that, you go to plugins panel, and then you'll see Wacom UFI here. You can drop this down, and then you have your options for export secured file, UFinder, support, and then your account information. But I'm going to be drawing in Rebelle today. And I've cheated a little bit just because white canvas demos can be kind of boring. So I've started with a bit of a truck sketch here. In Rebelle and Clip Studio Paint, you can find a UFI menu item under File. So here I've got the same options: export the secured image, connect to UFI, and then UFI settings. So I'm just going to doodle here a little bit and add some color and then get it to a point where I'm happy enough to export, but hopefully we won't take too much time doing that just because we've already built this file up a little bit. I've been doing Mini Coopers a lot in these demos, and it's kind of getting old for me a little bit. So I apologize, Melissa. I know that was something that we both enjoyed at one point.
Kyle, how can you get tired of a Mini Cooper? I'm not there yet, but I'm excited for a monster truck.
Okay, good. That makes me happy. I'm not going to get too much detail in here, but just to imply some things and maybe add some color. So I am using the Cintiq Pro 27. I do have a move ink behind, so I'll lift this up out of the way after I do that export just to show that one off because it is a pretty cool little piece of hardware. It's like a little portable Cintiq Pro that you can throw in your backpack and set up a professional studio wherever you go, coffee shop, hotel room, on the plane. It's pretty cool. So I love that little guy. And this is Rebel 7 that I'm using. So a really nice piece of software. If you haven't used it, I highly recommend it. They just had a huge sale on, and I don't know if it's still on, but they had it on sale, a perpetual license for, I think it was $10. So I have a work copy, and now I have my own copy here. So it's pretty cool. And I'm using a watercolor brush. So if you're wondering what's going on, I have my pigment blending, so the colors are blending. I have my water set pretty high up on my brush tool. And then the tilt are also set. Now I probably should have had it straight down, but you can determine how far and which direction that water is dripping down your canvas. And if you'd ever want to stop that, there's a pause button and you can just dry your layer and hit pause altogether. So this got a little bit out of hand, but I'm just going to start a new layer and add some blacks for the graphic stuff. Now, this one, I have my pen set to low water, so it shouldn't be too aggressive with the tilt and the dripping. But it's pretty awesome that this software company has figured out a way to make watching paint dry somewhat entertaining. So this one's fun to use.
So Kyle, I know you've used a ton of software over
Mhm.
your career. And I've been now hanging out with you in webinars for several months, whether they are about UEFI or Move Ink or the Cintiq Pro products. Um,
Mhm.
why have you been reaching for Rebel so frequently lately?
There's a couple reasons, and I do keep a number of different softwares at the ready. So my go-to for getting a quick idea on Canvas is Sketchbook. One, because I worked for that company for, a good chunk of my life, and that was sort of on the dev team and marketing that one for a long time. But this one, Rebel, the canvas textures straight out of the gate are phenomenal. The pencil is, if I zoom in here, it's really nice. So you get really good tooth digging into that canvas, and like the tilt functionality is really, really cool. So for fast coverage, that type of thing. And then just playing around with the oils and the watercolors, and like they've really done a good job of mimicking the traditional media, which makes some things a lot more fun to do. And then you hear that this is the software that they use to make Spider-Man across the universe and and it's like, okay, yeah, I'll use that one. That sounds pretty awesome.
If it's good enough for Spider-Man, it's good enough for us.
That's right. But yeah, I mean, Clip Studio Paint, I use quite heavily as well. They've got some really nice guides and pencils in that one as well. Um, but it's all up to user preference, of course.
Hmm.
And there's so many options out there, and we
I
work with pretty well with all of them.
Yeah, I love that Rebel is coming with the Move Ink product. I think it's just such a nice compliment because the Move Ink has such dramatic color with the OLED screen, and then to see watercolors like yours with the bright colors, and the details of the paint dripping. I just think that it shows up so beautifully on the Move Ink product.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the screen technology on our Cintiq product lines has really come a long way. So just with the color accuracy, and then Move Ink being each with our first OLED display, the blacks on that are really nice.
Mm-hmm. 100,000 to one. Um, And then Kyle, I noticed too that your watercolors have gotten a little out of control, not being critical.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
tell us a little bit about that function and how it works in Rebel.
yeah. So if I'm the whole plan here was to have something that was half baked, and then I could pull off something decent in a shorter amount of time, and I'm losing my confidence, but we'll turn it.
No. No, maybe it's the Mini Cooper. Maybe it was,
Maybe,
maybe
yeah.
minis are the
That should
lucky
have been it. I
piece.
should have stuck with it. So yeah, there's a couple ways that the watercolor works. So this here is up in the top right corner. There's a tilt window. So I can just tap on that center target and turn off that tilt so that drip won't really happen. It'll spread sort of globally. Over here, this pigment, use color pigment blending. That's a feature that I think was added in the last version, Rebel 6. So if you're playing around with colors, it's really, really nice. So if I'm going to open up an oil brush, and under each categories, you got oil. This one's express oils, and then you got watercolors, pens, pastels, airbrushes, all the fun stuff. So for now, I'm just going to grab an oil brush, and then under each category, a whole bunch of tools to pick from. Sorry. So if you just want to start blending, you can overlay these things and maybe pick different brushes. The one that really shows it off is the watercolor. So if you start, of course, I had that layer pause. I forgot to unpause everything, but you can see those colors really expand and sort of blend into each other, which is pretty nice. It's really fun. And then with the tilt, I can take that down and then set that direction so we can move the way that the gravity is affecting this paint and set everything going up and over to the right now. So it's obviously it's making this truck look way better than when we started. But yeah, that's sort of a fun way of messing around with the tool.
I love it. It's like definitely got an 80s vibe to it. Um, couple as you're drawing here, a couple of other notes on UFI that this is available for 2D artwork only at this moment. And it does work with photography or with illustration, as we can see Kyle using here. Um, and it works basically by recording or by uh, fingerprinting your process, regardless of what kind of art you are doing. It's using the pen input and a handful of other actions that a human would make with a piece of art. So it's not relying on, actions that, like a robot, or a bot or something, hitting delete a bunch of times. It really is relying on a human touch to create that digital fingerprint.
Yeah, and I've just decided that I'm not going to fumble around with this one anymore. It's to the point where I don't want to look at it anymore. So I'm just going to
No.
save it as disappointing demo. I think I'll name it as. But I'll just throw this in UFI. And we'll just call it Rebel Artwork. Let's call it 4. I'll save that. So I'm just saving the file to my local Explorer there. But next I'm going to go into UFI and do an export secured image. Now, am I going to be able to spell this? Disappointing demo truck sketch. Sure. Export. So I'm going to go put that in UFI. And then when I hit that, it's going to run a bunch of calculations. So it was tracking my brush strokes and the device that I was using and where the pen was located. All that stuff I was just doing into this file and determining that I was the creator of the artwork. So it's sending that image over. Signing is the final step, and then we should get a notification letting us know that it was uploaded successfully. There we go. Image has been exported and signed successfully. So I'm just going to hit OK, and then we can go visit it again in UFI on my browser. So if we go to my portfolio, it's not assigned to a project yet, so it'll be found under my exports. So there we go there. I guess I'll click on it. Good. It's just a little tiny image that lives on the blockchain, so I don't have to look at it in full scale. But I can link this to either an existing project or a new project. And for the sake of this demo and everyone looking at UFI, I'm going to start a new project really quick and just run through the process. So we're going to click next here. I'm just going to write, we'll retitle this as to truck watercolor. Creation date, November 14th, that's today. Type is a T2D. These are the options that we are eventually going to be supporting. Of course, we got photography support now, but 2D and then everything else there eventually. In category, I'll pick automotive design. The description, I'm going to leave that one as is. Devices used, I was on a Cintiq Pro, it was in Rebel, that's the applications used. And then I can assign a link to it and then explain who I was building it for. So I'll click next for the next one. And that's going to take us into the licensing. So there are two options here. You can click from select from a number of license templates or create a new license from scratch. Either way, the templates will take you through a number of options to set for when you're assigning a license to a certain project. So I'm just going to go for, I'll click paid for commercial for now, and then it'll run us through all the different options. So they've made it really straightforward and super easy to put this together because the most artists I know aren't legal experts. Some of them are, of course, but for me, this is nice and streamlined. So exclusive license, meaning the people who license it are the only ones that are able to license it and use it. So we're going to leave this as non-exclusive, so multiple people can license the image. For usage, it's whether the person can use the artwork in their projects without altering it, or development allows them to a little bit more freedom to use the artwork in however they want it. So I'll leave that for development. Purpose for commercial or non-commercial purposes, I'm going to leave that as commercial. Details here, there's a couple things we have to hit here. So what's included? You got your copyright and production resources, only the copyright of the content, and then copyright and the original resources. File formats here, I save that as a JPEG, so I'll just put that JPEG. And then there's a checkbox here if you want to be attribution used if the image gets used, if you want your name attached to it. So you can throw in your full name or an alias if you'd like there. I'll deselect that one. For restrictions, you've got some options for restrictions associated with different types of media, different territories, and certain contexts. So political, drugs and alcohol, tobacco, and religious, that type of thing. I'll leave that as is. So then we get to fees and terms. Now, I believe that this list or number of options in this category is going to expand over time. But right now we've got unlimited 1 year and 3 year terms. Fee is either free or fixed fee. And then you can type in a number and just say maybe $100, which I think is not too likely that someone's going to click on that, but gotta shoot your shot. Number times of usage or how many times the image can be used. So unlimited, or you can put a number to that as well. So we'll say 50 times. And then sure, I'm happy with that. Next, we'll move into jurisdiction. So this is important for when if you find yourself in a situation where you need to take somebody to court over misuse of your image or theft and certain things. I can't remember the title, the zip code for the office, something like that. And then I'm going to be in United States of America. So if this ever happens where I need to take a thief to court, this is where the court proceedings will take place in this jurisdiction set in the license. So good to know that. Jurisdiction address is the same as in settings. I should have just clicked that. That would have been way easier. And next you have the option to save the template. And I don't want to do that. I'm just doing this for demo purposes, but this is the demo that's going to, or the license that's going to be assigned to this particular project. And then it gives you a summary of everything you just created. Super official. It's a really cool tool in terms of setting this up. Excuse me, I just got to mute for a second to cough. There we go. So I'm going to hit apply. We'll hit next to review everything we just put together. So truck watercolor is the title, description, create date. And these are the linked exports. So this is the one file that I have in this project. I'll open up another project just to show you how you can assign multiple exports to one project at a time. You can actually add more than one license to a project as well, if you're so inclined. And finally, it's the signature stage. Now, this is my totally legit signature. So don't go and sign any checks with my name, please. But that's the one that works. Oh, it didn't work. Thought I practiced it enough yesterday. There we go. Okay. I'm not too sure why the first one didn't go, but we got there. Okay, so we've successfully created that new project. So if I go into my portfolio, the projects got quite a list now. So there it is. We got our beautiful truck in its own project. Now I did a training session earlier this week with a Mini, so I'm going to pull up that one just to show that under the resources tab or export, sorry, I have different stages. So I have a sketch and then a base color file and then the final. I didn't rename it, but that's the final render. And then I've got a pretty lofty license attached to that one, but that's pretty much it. And if somebody ever finds your image and wants to request a license, this is where it'll pop up in your requests. This one from my friend Avanov is timed out, unfortunately, but that's where those lie. So
I love
I
that you
guess at
brought
this
up
point,
Avanov, Kyle, and just kind of as you're going through this, one thing to note for the audience is that the team behind UEFI is there to chat with you. So if you do choose to download UEFI and use it, um, it does have contact information for the team at UEFI. They are available to you both to give them feedback and to ask questions once you're in the tool. Avanov, as Kyle points out here, he's the person behind the whole tool. And we have done webinars with him as well. And it's just kind of fun to have the UEFI expert available to everybody, but he is also available to all of you through UEFI. He's a great guy, and the team is quite small and are definitely available to talk and to take feedback and to iterate on the tool so that it continues to be a great link for artists and their artwork. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Kyle. I saw you were just moving over to the Move Ink.
yeah, no, I appreciate you talking over. I'm just trying to focus in on the Move Ink screen here. So I just wanted to show this a little bit. We got a few more minutes before we jump into the Q&A, but this is that Move Ink that we mentioned at the start of the webinar. It's our latest pen display. It came out in April. So it's a super thin, super lightweight, portable OLED pen display. Really, really nice unit here. 13.3-inch display. It's got a magnesium alloy body, so that helps the lightweight and also the flexibility. The screen is a acid etched Gorilla Glass, so it's got some flex to it too, which is pretty important when we claim durability in this portable solution. I lifted up here, so I like to have it up on this stand. So it's an optional stand, but you can put it right down on your desk and sort of toss it around like an actual piece of paper. So it's a really cool workflow for replicating pen and paper in a digital space, about as close as you can get, in my opinion. But the stand that I have it on is this Move Ink stand. It's sort of an accordion, solid aluminum construction with fold-in legs. And this comes in a sleeve as well. And you can throw that in the backpack with you. And then we also have a protective sleeve for the Move Ink, which I just have out of camera here. It's sort of like a leatherette soft case, so you can throw it in there with an elastic to keep everything in place. Really nice little way of protecting it even further. Because our products are built to last, and we want to make sure that users are comfortable using them the way they were developed. It also comes with the Pro Pen 3. So I was using a different the Pro Pen I was using for the demo earlier is the Cintiq Pro. So it comes with an optional grip, which I have assigned to that one. But this one, the Move Ink pen, comes with the 3 buttons in this narrow design, I guess, replicating a regular pencil. Inside the barrel, you've got replaceable nibs too, which is pretty handy. This whole plug comes out, and your tip remover is in the back end there. So you put your tip in, angle it ever so slightly and then pull it out. And that way you can remove your nib and then put a different one back in. So it's an all new pen. We redesigned our EMR technology, that layer of pen and touch underneath the display and the glass. So everything is a little bit closer to the pen than it was before, which is really nice. So that goes for the Cintiq Pro and the Move Ink. It really feels like there's zero parallax and that your digital ink is right underneath your pen. Oh, it's also a touch display. So we've got this button here. So we've got physical express keys of one on each side, and then there's a touch point on the bezel on each side. So you got 4 express key shortcuts on each total. One of them has to remain this menu and settings options. That's where you can turn off your touch or quickly adjust your brightness, and then to go into display settings and adjust certain things. So I'm just in the native color profile, but you can go through in display settings and then hammer out any of these factory calibrated color profiles. So right now I'm in Rec 709. So you can see how that changes pretty quickly, which is really handy.
I think one of the interesting parts about the Move Ink as well as the Cintiq Pro products, Kyle, is the ability to customize things. So with the Cintiq Pro that Kyle was using before, there are 8 physical buttons along the back of the display. On the Move Ink, there are fewer physical buttons, but both have the Wacom Tablet Center available where you can customize touch. And so for both the Move Ink and the Cintiq Pro, as well as the Wacom One products, you can customize buttons. And so if Kyle wanted to have a single button right in the center of his screen that he could program per software, he could do that. He could have a grouping of buttons along the left-hand side if he prefers. But the products themselves are really intended for each individual artist to customize based on their workflow. And then UFI itself, as well as the software that you can download with the Move Ink product, those are all really intended to protect the artwork and allow artists to develop the artwork that they wish that they have in their minds and in a workflow that is customized to them. Did you make some buttons, Kyle?
Yeah, so I have this touch point here assigned to radio menu. So every time I hit that, it'll pop up and I can position that anywhere on my screen, and that lives on top of all the different applications. And then one of the segments I have here too is keypad. So I can use this touch to turn touch off. Anyway, I can use that to open up even more touch options, which is pretty handy. So if I I've got touch off, and if I go here onto touch and gestures, when touch is off, you may have mentioned this, I kind of zoned out for a minute, but you have completely disabled touch or you have selective touch. So this prevents you from using standard gestures like pinch and zoom on your canvas, but still allows you to interact with the on-screen controls, which is pretty cool. So I can get rid of that. If I want to open up that again, I can just hammer out all these different things, which is pretty cool. And one thing I didn't mention about the Move Ink is that it's one cable. So I've got a USB-C straight into my laptop, no power block anymore. It's a single cable that does power, display, pen, and touch in one go. So that's a pretty significant technological advancement. Something that we've been working on for a long time, and it's awesome to see it in practice.
All right. Well, that brings us to the end of our demo. If you have any questions, we do have a couple more minutes. We've been answering questions directly to people as they've been coming in. So let us know if you have any more questions. You will receive a copy of this video. Well, you'll receive a link to the video afterward, so you can rewatch it. We will also share the information for the beta again. Please sign up. It is free. Once you are in the beta, you have access to the UFI team They are great people. We love working with them. And they are happy, truly happy to answer questions or to have a conversation about the tool. In fact, our CEO, Nobu, was just with us at Lightbox Expo talking about the tool and demoing the tool as well. We're very proud of it. And also, we do want to continue improving it and continue working with artists to make it as strong of a link as possible for artists and their artwork. All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for joining us on this Thursday evening. We hope you all have a fabulous evening and a great weekend. Maybe just don't go to work tomorrow. Maybe just take the day off and have a 3-day weekend. Thank you so
That's a
much.
great idea.
Have a good
Thanks,
evening.
everyone.
Thank you. Bye.